This same thing as the last one, except our table is on its side. And when our table's on its side like this, the top row is our x value, bottom is our y. So it looks a little bit different. So when we label, just remember you've got x1, x2, they're right next to each other, y1 and y2. But the same formula we're going to use. Same thing, 350 minus 250 and 3 minus 1. Same thing on this one, pick whichever two you want and use your formula. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. If you're doing this online, you can always rewrite it on a piece of paper if you need to. Sometimes it gets a little confusing just doing it on the calculator. Slope and the y-intercept on this one. So your y-intercept is 0, and that's a number, that's a point I'm going to use for my slope. And then we've got 13, or 2, not 13, 2 and 30. Okay, so your y-intercept, you've got 0, it's going through 0. And then I would use these 2 points to find the slope. So on the scientific notation, it's a little bit different on Schoology. So, but just as a refresher, to write this number in scientific notation, you put your new decimal after the first non-zero number. So that would be right here. So when I'm writing in scientific notation, the first part of it would look like this, 1.8 times 10. And now I'm going to move this new decimal. I'm going to count all the way to the end of the number. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So since I counted to the right, and since it's a big number, it starts with digits that are not 0, it's a positive exponent up here. So the way you would write that is in the first drop-down box is going to be your decimal. So that was 1.8. The times 10 is already there. Now you have to tell me if it's a positive or negative exponent. So in this case, it's positive, and our exponent is 7. Okay, so those are your 3 ways, or your 3 answers technically for these scientific notation answers. Okay, on this one, same thing. I'm going to put my new decimal after the first non-zero number. So if I'm looking, 8. That's my first non-zero. Okay, now I'm going to count backwards, okay, because I want to get back to the decimal over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my decimal is 8.92. And since I counted to the left, and since it's a number that started with a bunch of zeros, it's a negative exponent, and I counted 6 places. On this one, same thing. My new decimal is going after the first non-zero. So this negative is talking about the whole number. So when I write that down, it's actually going to be -3. Okay, and so from that new decimal, I'm going to count back to the old decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So since I counted to the left 5 places, it's a negative exponent. Same thing like on the last one. Decimal goes here. It's a negative decimal. And since we're counting to the left, however many places you count, it's a negative exponent. Those are pretty self-explanatory. On number 20, your decimal goes here. You are going to write the whole decimal in that box, or choose the whole decimal.